the small intestine, microvilli is there, and villi is the finger-like projection. That projection is that because of that villi, it will increase the surface area of the intestine, and it will helpful for the absorption of the digested food particles. And in the intestine also Pear's patches is there. Because of that Pear patches, the food will be absorbed at the small intestine. Yesterday I already discussed about the utilization of the food. The utilization of the food is the metabolism and the anabolism. Metabolism is the chemical changes that takes place in the cell after the end product of the digestion are absorbed. That is the metabolism. And the catabolism. Anabolism is the term. It is mainly the chemical reaction by which the simple substance is used to manufacture the more complicated ones. That is the anabolism. Today I will discuss about the carbohydrates. Carbohydrates, the very large family of the organic compounds, and that is mainly it is made up of the hydrogen, oxygen, and carbon. In the naturally, there are mainly 103 naturally occurring elements are present, and these mainly includes the phosphorus, sodium, carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, and calcium. And atoms are the one of the element combined with the atoms of the another element to form a compound. And in the example, water is a compound which is made up of the two atoms of hydrogen and one atom of the oxygen. All the compounds containing the CO2, carbon dioxide, these all are called as the organic compound. And all other compounds which do not contain the carbon molecules, carbons, that is called as the inorganic compounds. Carbohydrate, protein, fat, vitamins are the organic compounds, and all the minerals that is the inorganic elements, and water is also your inorganic compounds. Carbohydrate mainly plant-based food, and they're mainly present in the foods in the form of the type of the compound that is called as the mainly it is called as the sugar or the starches and fiber. And the carbohydrate are mainly made up of the simple units, and the basic unit of carbohydrate is your glucose, and the example of the carbohydrate is your galactose and the fructose. uh, Cane sugar is the example of the car, and which are mainly commonly uses in the house. Carbohydrate made up of the two basic units. Here we will the 1 units of the glucose and the 1 units of the fructose. They combine together and they form the what? Carbohydrate. And the starch molecule is a very large molecule, and it is made up of the several basic units of the glucose linked together. And these chains of glucose can be that may be in the straight chain, otherwise in the branch chain. And example of the starch are mainly the tapioca, maize, wheat, and rice. It is the example of the starch. And fiber, like the starch, is made of the number of basic units. Fiber mainly includes the several substance. Uh, Cellulose is the example of the fiber, and it is the substance. Mainly, it is made up of the several glucose units, and it is different from the starch because the type of linkage between the two glucose molecule, but two glucose units in the cellulose, that makes all the difference. And the carbohydrate are mainly two types. One is the available carbohydrate, and another one is the non-available carbohydrate. And all the types of the carbohydrate, fiber, starches, sugars, they are mainly classified as the non-available carbohydrate and the available carbohydrate. Carbohydrate like the sugar and starch are digestible in the human digestive tract and can be made available to body for its functioning. In the carbohydrate, mainly this type of carbohydrate is called as the what? Available carbohydrate. Cellulose is the second other type of large types of carbohydrate molecule that cannot be digested in the human digestive tract. They are referred to as the non-available carbohydrates.
Yes, ma'am.
Mainly, the term available carbohydrate is the non-available carbohydrate is your the example of the non-available carbohydrate is your fiber. First, I will discuss about the available carbohydrate. The sources of the available carbohydrate is mainly which foods provides the good amount of carbs, and that mainly includes the all the millets, cereals, and some fruits like cane sugar, honey, jaggery. These all are the example of your available carbs. Cereals and the millets are the main source of carbs, and all the cereals like the millets, wheat, rice, bajra, jaw, ragi contains the very small amount of starch. And the roots in tubers like the tapioca, sweet potato, colocasia, yam, and the fruits like sapota, banana, mango, rich in the carbohydrate in the form of sugar form. Plant sugar and the cube sugar are the other sweeteners like the honey, jaggery are the available carbohydrate. And all the pulses is also contains the some amounts of carbs, and the pulses are the important and it contains the carb, and along with the carb it also contains the protein. Table sugar is mainly is the composition of the glucose and the fructose. That means it is made up of one molecule of glucose and the one molecule of fructose. Starches. Starch mainly there are glucose. It is made up of main units of glucose. They are joined together either by the straight chain or the branch chain of glycosidic bondage. It is called as the starch. Cellulose is nothing. Cellulose is your fiber, and it is also made up of many glucose units. And the type of linkage between the glucose units is different from that of the starches. What's the main function of your these available carbohydrates? Mainly, the chief function of the available carbohydrate is the protein sparing effect, and it also provides the energy giving function because the chief function of the carb is to furnish the energy for the working of the body. That means if you are consuming the 1 grams of carbohydrate, it provides the 4 kilocalorie. And the carbohydrate foods are widely distributed in the nature and the cheapest sources of the energy. In our diet, about 60 to 70% food is made up of the what? Calorie from the carb only. And 1 kilocalorie is the amount of heat required to raise the temperature of 1 kilogram of water by the 1 degree centigrade. The chief function of the carbohydrate is the protein sparing action. Protein sparing action means that the protein can be broken down into the body to meet the energy need. And this is the chief function. Insufficient amount of carbohydrate in the diet will force the body to break down the protein for the releasing the energy instead of the using them for the body growth and development. Mainly this carbohydrate if taken insufficient. In these cases, the energy needs of the body spare proteins for their important basic function, supporting the growth and for the body construction or the body building. And this particular act of the sparing proteins for other function is termed as the protein sparing effect of the carbs. A utilization of the fat. Some amounts of carbohydrate is also needed for the proper utilization of the fat in the body because this carbohydrate is the diet prevents the uh, body from breaking down too much of fat for the energy. In case of deficit in the carbohydrate in the diet, more fat will be broken down to meet the energy requirement of the body. For this reason only, The excessive fat breakdown can result in the accumulation of a byproduct of the fat metabolism. This accumulation cause a um, problem and can it also affect the health. This is the main key function of the carbohydrate. Mainly carbohydrate act as the energy giving function, protein sparing action, and the fat utilization of the fats. And what is the digestion, absorption, and the utilization of the this available carbohydrate? This available carbohydrate involves mainly breakdown of the starch sugar like common table sugar in the diet to their simplest name the glucose. In the carbohydrate substance like the dietary fiber present in the whole grains or the fruits or the vegetables can be partially digested by the human beings because the stomach and intestine do not have the necessary chemical substance or the chemical enzymes also not present sufficiently, and the digestion of the carbohydrate begins in the mouth only. In the mouth, it contains the saliva, and this saliva contains one enzyme. Its name is the amylase. Amylase, which is capable of breaking cooked starch into very smaller units, and the time available for this enzyme to break down the starch in the mouth is too short, allow for any significant amount of conversion to take place. And the major carbohydrate digestion enzyme present is the amylase. This amylase is also secreted by the pancreas. From the pancreatic gland, it secretes the amylase, and this pancreas is capable of the acting on the both the raw and cooked starch and convert it into the very smaller units. And the next phase of carb digestion takes place. Partially digested starch and ultimately this break down them into the simpler form, that is the form of the glucose, galactose, and the fructose that will be digested in the first part of the SI, the small intestine. All the simpler sugar units are taken to the various body tissue and cells through the bloodstream. Ultimately, it will be converted into the glucose, and glucose is the main source of energy. Glucose is mainly bound to release the energy, and several substances are bound in the body by using the oxygen. The process of burning of substance in the body is called as the oxidation, and the process of burning of glucose and that release mainly the energy. And this process is called as the oxidation of the glucose. And by burning, this of oxidation of the glucose is not a single reaction. It is completed through different steps. And after the glucose digestion, the extra glucose, which is not burned properly to release energy, then it will be converted into a substance that is called as the glycogen. And that glycogen is subsequently stored in the muscles, and some of the glycogen will be stored in the liver, and this glycogen is made up of the long chain of glucose molecules, and the glycogen can be finally broken down to release the glucose whenever the body needs. And but only very limited amount of glucose can be stored in the body as the glycogen. Once the limit of the glycogen storage is exceed, the remaining excess glucose will be converted as the fat, and that fat will is stored in the body. This is all about your available carbohydrate. Lipsha, Lipsa, Lopamudra, Sasmita Behera, Sonali Barik. Am I audible to everyone or not? What is available carbohydrate and what is non-available carbohydrate?
Yes, ma'am, audible. Yes, audible.
Yes, Satyajit.
Yes,
What
ma'am,
is
voice audible
non-available
ରହୁଛି.
carbohydrate? Hmm? Satyajit Das. What is available carbohydrate?
Lactose are carbohydrates.
Speak loudly.
It, yes, hello. ବର୍ଷା ହଉଛି ମ୍ୟାମ୍ ଯୋଉଥିପାଇଁ ଭଏସ ଟା ଅଡିବୁଲ ରହୁନି. ହ୍ୟାଲୋ.
ବଡ଼ ପାଟିରେ କୁହନ୍ତୁ ଶୁଣା ଯାଉନି. Kassis Das. Am I
Yes,
audible
ma'am,
to
voice
everyone?
audible ରହୁଛି.
ବର୍ଷା ହଉଛି ଶୁଣା
Voice
ଯାଉନି
audible
ପାଠ
ରହୁଛି.
ଅନ୍ୟ କଣ ଅସୁବିଧା କଣ ହଉଛି? ହଁ ସତ୍ୟଜିତ ଯାହା କହୁଛନ୍ତି ବଡ଼ ପାଟିରେ କୁହନ୍ତୁ.
Yes, hello.
ହଁ ହ୍ୟାଲୋ.
Voice audible ରହୁଛି.
ସତ୍ୟଜିତ କଣ କହୁଛନ୍ତି? ହଁ କୁହନ୍ତୁ.
Yes, ma'am, ଆପଣ ଯୋଉ
All of
କହୁଥିଲେ
you switch
ଆପେଲ
on your camera.
କାର୍ቦହାଇଡ୍ରେଟ.
All of you switch on your camera first.
Ma'am, available carbohydrate are sugar, starch,
Yes. Sugar
used
starch.
as the form of energy.
Huh? Where the digestion takes place. In which part of the GI tract digestion most of the digestion will be takes place. In the intestinal part, in the small intestine and the large intestine.
Small intestine. It is the
Yes,
small
small
intestine.
intestine. A numbers of fingers like projection is there. Its name is the what? Yesterday I already discussed about this.
Yes, ma'am, କାଲି discuss କରିଥିଲେ ଏଇ ବିଷୟରେ.
Villi, microvilli is there. Microvilli is the finger-like projection where the absorption will be takes place. Vindhya Vasini, Vindhya
Yes,
Vasini.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
ଏବେ ହଁ ଆପଣମାନଙ୍କର ମାନେ ପାଟିରୁ କଥା କାହିଁକି ବାହାରୁନି ମୁଁ ତ ବୁଝିପାରୁନି ମୁଁ ତ ପ୍ରଥମରୁ ଫ୍ରମ୍ ଦ ଡେ ୱାନ୍ ମୁଁ କହିଛି ମୋ କ୍ଲାସରେ ସବୁବେଳେ ଇଣ୍ଟରାକ୍ସନ୍ ହେବା ଦରକାର ମୁଁ କଣ କହୁଛି ତମେ କଣ ବୁଝୁଛ ମୁଁ କେମିତି ଜାଣିବି ତମେ ବୁଝୁଛ ୟା ନ ବୁଝୁଛ all of you remain silent that means what it indicates ହଁ
ମ୍ୟାମ୍ ବୁଝା ପଡୁଛି
ଆଉ
ମ୍ୟାମ୍।
ଯୋଉମାନେ ଜଷ୍ଟ ଖାଲି ଅନ୍ କରିଦେଇକି ତମେ ତମ କାମରେ ରହୁଛ ଏଟା ହଉଛି ଗୋଟେ ତମର ଲାଗୁଛି ଯେ ଗୋଟେ ଡିପ୍ଲୋମା ଗୋଟେ ବହୁତ ଇଜି କୋର୍ସ DNHE ବଟ୍ ତମେ ଯେତେବେଳେ ଏକ୍ସାମ ଦେବ ତମେ ଜାଣିପାରିବ କେତେ ଇଜି ୟା କେତେ ଡିଫିକଲ୍ଟ କୋର୍ସ ତମକୁ ଏତିକି କ୍ଲାସ୍ ହଉଛି ଆଣ୍ଡ କ୍ଲାସରେ ଫ୍ୟାକଲ୍ଟି ମେମ୍ବର୍ସ କିଛି କହୁଛନ୍ତି ତମର କିଛି ନୋ ରେସ୍ପଣ୍ଡ ନଥିଙ୍ଗ ସସ୍ମିତା ବେହେରା ସସ୍ମିତା ବେହେରା अनीता पाइटल
मैम मो वॉइस ऑडिबल रहउची?
ମୋ
हेलो।
ଭଏସ୍ ଅଡିବୁଲ୍ ହଉନି କହୁଛନ୍ତି? ହଁ ହ୍ୟାଲୋ। ହଁ
यस मैम, मैम
ସତ୍ୟଜିତ
मो
ଭଏସ୍
वॉइस ऑडिबल
ଅଡିବୁଲ୍
रहउची?
ହଉନି, ଶୁଣା ଯାଉନି?
ହଁ ମ୍ୟାମ୍ ଶୁଣା ଯାଉଛି
ହ୍ୟାଲୋ।
ମ୍ୟାମ୍।
दिस इज
ହଁ
यस मैम, नेटवर्क इश्यू जो मे बी क्लियर सुबुनी बट मो ऑडिबल रहउची। हेलो।
ହଁ କୁହନ୍ତୁ କୁହନ୍ତୁ, ମୁଁ ଶୁଣୁଛି, ଆପଣ କୁହନ୍ତୁ। କୁହନ୍ତୁ
माने
ସତ୍ୟଜିତ ବାବୁ
क्वेश्चन आपण जहाँ
କୁହନ୍ତୁ।
पचारछन्ती आंसर देउची। चार से
ଭଏସ୍ ଅଡିବୁଲ୍ ହଉନି ନା କଣ? ଭଏସ୍ ଶୁଣା ଯାଉନି?
ନାଇଁ ମ୍ୟାମ୍ କ୍ଲିୟରଲି ଶୁଭା ଯାଉଛି ବଟ୍ ମୁଁ ଏପଟୁ ଯଦି ଆନ୍ସର ଦେବି ତାହେଲେ ମିସମ୍ୟାଚ୍ ହେଇଯିବ ଚାଟ୍ ସେସନରେ, ସୋ ଦ୍ୟାଟ୍ସ ୱାଇ ମୁଁ ଏପଟୁ କିଛି ଅପଡେଟ୍ କରୁନି, ଖାଲି ଶୁଣୁଛି ଆପଣ ଯାହା କହୁଛନ୍ତି।
ତମେ ଯାହା କହୁଛ ମତେ ଶୁଣା ଯାଉଛି, ବଟ୍ ପିଚ୍ ଟିକେ କମ୍ ଅଛି, ଶୁଣା କିନ୍ତୁ ଯାଉଛି, ବୁଝିହେଲା? ଏମିତି ନୁହଁ ଶୁଣା ଯାଉନି ବୋଲି, ମୋ ଭଏସ୍ ପୁରା କ୍ଲିୟରଲି ଶୁଣା ଯାଉଛି ତ? ବର୍ଷା ଆକ୍ଚୁଆଲି ଜୋରରେ ବାହାରି ହଉଛି।
ୟେସ୍
ଭଏସ୍
ମ୍ୟାମ୍,
ଶୁଣା ଯାଉଛି
ସେଠୁ
ନା ଶୁଣା
ଭଏସ୍
ଯାଉନି?
ଅଡିବୁଲ୍ ଅଛି।
ହୁଁ।
ମ୍ୟାମ୍ ତାଙ୍କ ଭଏସ୍ ଟା
ମ୍ୟାମ୍
କଟି ଯାଉଛି, ଯେହେତୁ ସେଠି
ମ୍ୟାମ୍ କ୍ଲିୟର
ବର୍ଷା ହଉଛି
ଶୁଭୁଛି।
ତ।
ହଁ ହଁ ହଁ, ବର୍ଷା ଆକ୍ଚୁଆଲି ବାହାରେ ବହୁତ ସାରା ବର୍ଷା ହଉଛି। ଆଚ୍ଛା ମୁଁ ଯେବେ ପଢିଲି ଆଭେଲେବଲ୍ କାର୍ବୋହାଇଡ୍ରେଟ୍
ୟେସ୍
ନନ୍
ମ୍ୟାମ୍
ଆଭେଲେବଲ୍
ଅଡିବୁଲ୍।
କାର୍ବୋହାଇଡ୍ରେଟ୍ କିଛି ହଁ
ହଁ
କୁହନ୍ତୁ।
ହଁ ମ୍ୟାମ୍ ବୁଝା
ୟେସ୍
ପଡିଲା ବୁଝା
ମ୍ୟାମ୍
ପଡିଲା।
ବୁଝିହେଲା। ଆଜ୍ଞା ମ୍ୟାମ୍ ବୁଝା
ହଁ
ପଡୁଛି, ବଟ୍ କଥାବାର୍ତ୍ତା ହେବା ଦ୍ୱାରା ସମସ୍ତେ କଥା ହେବା ଦ୍ୱାରା ଅଡିବୁଲ୍ ରହୁନି ପ୍ରପରଲି, ସେଥିଲାଗି ଆମେ ମ୍ୟୁଟ୍ କରି ରଖିଛୁ।
କଣ କହିଲି ସମସ୍ତେ କଥା ହେବା ଦ୍ୱାରା? ହ୍ୟାଲୋ। Non-available carbohydrate. These non-available carbohydrate are refers to number of indigestible carbohydrate like cellulose present in the plant food. Non-available carbohydrate होची जो cellulose जोटा indigestible carbohydrate सेटा होची non-available carbohydrate. And these the important role in the regulation of some body process. This mainly the function of the non-available carbohydrate is it helpful for the elimination because it contains the cellulose and the hemocellulose. That's why this non-available carbohydrates main role of the non-available carbohydrate is it's mainly helpful for the elimination process, and because it contains the fiber, and that fiber is helps in the easy elimination of the undigested food particles in the form of stools or the feces from the body. And the fiber present in the stool mainly holds the water and make it very softer and helps in the easy elimination. This is the chief function of fiber. Maximum cereal pulses and the vegetables it contains the cellulose, and these all are mainly helpful for the elimination process. And these non-available carbohydrate it mainly helpful for the prevention of the different type of dreaded disorder but dreaded disease like cancer, heart stroke, and the diabetes mellitus, because the research shows that this fiber does play a very important role for the prevention of the heart disorder, diabetes, colon cancer, and the each and every kind of carcinoma. Specifically, those who are having the problem of the large intestine, any kind of large intestinal carcinoma, if they will regular basis, they will consume these non-available carbohydrates very effective for. But the sources of these non-available carbohydrate, mainly the all the cereals and the pulses, it contains the non-available carbohydrates. And the example of this non-available carbohydrate is your rasma, lobia, and some that black gram. and wheat flour, all the pulses, grains that contains the what non-available carbohydrate. In the refined cereals like the suji, moida, and the was dals, it does not contain any kind of fiber. And the refined cereals means it does not contains the bran. And they the mainly the bran they have the three main parts. The outer covering or the bran and the germ or the embryo is the second part, and the last one is your endospore. And the grain with the outer covering is termed as the whole grain cereals. And when the whole wheat is milled from the atana, most of the bran remains in it, and that wheat flour is the whole cereal products, and the moida and suji is the refining form, and it is called as the refined cereals because it removes the all the coarse particles of the bran and the germs. Fiber mainly present in the outer skin and the seeds of the most vegetable and the fruits. And the vegetables and fruits are particularly rich in the fiber. Lotus stem example of the fibers is the lady's finger, peas, brinjal, beans, and orange, guava, amla. Animal food like the dairy product, meat, fish, poultry do not contain the fibers, but all the plant-based foods and the pulses, legumes, it contains the fiber. Now, water. Water is essential for the life, and water is the macronutrient. It is made up of mainly hydrogen and the oxygen. A molecule of water contains two atoms of the hydrogen and one atom of the oxygen. And what is the main function of the water? Mainly, this water is the major component of our body because our body is made up of 60 to 75% of water. In our body also different types of fluid is present like the saliva, digestive juices, urine, feces, sweat and perspiration. Water is the medium of all the body fluid. Water plays a very important role in the regulation of the body temperature. In our body, heat is produced in the body by the burning of the fat, carbohydrate, and the protein. Water mainly helps to distribute this heat throughout the body, and some of the water is also lost from the body by the evaporation and cools in down. The extra heat from the body is not lost and body temperature is maintained. And water is the universal solvent. And because if this water bath the body cells and keeps the body moist, because of the presence of this water, it acts as the lubricant, and it is also act as the anti-infectious agent. Water present in the saliva and other the digestive juices also present this water. Without lubrication, that particular part will be dry, and because of dry, it will causes the different. It will very prone towards the different type of infection. What is the sources of water? Mainly, the ingestion of the water is in the form of the liquid, or the ingestion of the water in the form of the solid food also. All of you clear about the water and the available and
Yes,
the
ma'am.
non-available carbohydrate?
Yes, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes or no? You just remember
Yes, ma'am.
like
Yes.
this, carbohydrate mainly classified into three major categories. First one is your sugar, second one is your starch, and the third one is your fiber. This is the main three categorization of your carbs. And carbohydrate are classified as the available carbohydrate. All the starch and the sugar is your available carbohydrate, and all the fibers are your non-available carbohydrates. Available carbohydrates is your sugar and the starches are digestible in the human body, and the end product of the digestion of the sugar and starches is the glucose. The main function of the available carbohydrate is to furnish the energy for the function of the body, and the chief function of the non-available carbohydrate is the indigestible in the human digestive tract. But they many beneficial function like it increase the satiety value of the body, and it's mainly helpful for the elimination process of the faces, and also it prevents the uh, different type of dreaded disorder like the cancer, diabetes mellitus, and the heart disorder, and colon and the other GI cancer also. And water, like carbohydrate, protein, fat, water is also main components of the food because a molecule of the water is made up of the two molecules of the hydrogen and one atom of the oxygen. And water is absorbed as such without any digestive changes, and maximum glands, hormones, and the all the lymphatic glands it contains fluid. That is your uh, like synovial fluid, and your all the enzymes hormones is also made up of by the water. दीदी भी दीदी भी ଟିକେ ହେଇଥିଲା ମତେ ତ ମୁଁ ଏଇ ରାଜା ଫାଜା କଣ କରି ବସିବି. Available and non-available carbohydrate and the sources of carbohydrate and the function of the fiber and function of the protein and function of the water. बुझिला ସମସ୍ତଙ୍କୁ.
Yes, ma'am. ବୁଝି ହଉଛି. Yes, ma'am.
ମତେ ଲାଗୁଛି
Yes,
all
ma'am.
class ରେ only that ବିନ୍ଧ୍ୟା ବୈଶିନୀ and ସତ୍ୟଜିତ ଦୁଇ ଜଣ ହିଁ ଅଛନ୍ତି, and ଆଉ ସମସ୍ତେ ଯେମିତି କ୍ଲାସ ରେ କେହି ନାହାନ୍ତି କି କିଛି ବି ନାହିଁ. या ପରେ ଆପଣମାନଙ୍କର ସବୁତକ କାମ ଆରମ୍ଭ ହବ, ଆସାଇନମେଣ୍ଟ ଦେବେ and ତାପରେ ଏକ୍ସାମ ହବ. ଏହି ସମୟରେ ମଧ୍ୟ ଏମିତି ଚୁପଚାପ ହିଁ ରହିବେ. କ୍ଲାସରେ ଥାଇକି ରେସ୍ପଣ୍ଡ ନ କରିବା କ୍ଲାସ ନ କରିବା ସହିତ ସମାନ. Am I right or wrong?
Yes, ma'am.
ଠିକ ନା ମୁଁ ଭୁଲ କହୁଛି?
Yes, ma'am. ଠିକ.
Yes, ma'am.
ହଁ, କାରଣ ମୁଁ
Yes,
ଏତେ
ma'am.
ଏତେ ଥର ମୁଁ ସେସନ ନେଇଛି, କେବେ ଏମିତି ପିଲାମାନେ ଏତେ ମାନେ ଟୋଟାଲି ରେସ୍ପନ୍ସ ଏମିତି ତମମାନଙ୍କର କିଛି ନାହିଁ. ଦିଟା ଜିନିଷ ହେଇପାରେ, ଏଇଟା ତମକୁ ପାଠ ପଢିବାରେ ଆଗ୍ରହ ନେଇ ଜବରଦସ୍ତି ତମମାନଙ୍କୁ ଏଠି ବସା ହେଇଛି, ଆଉ ମୁଁ ତମକୁ ଜବରଦସ୍ତି ପଢଉଛି. ଏ ଦିଟା ଭିତରୁ କୋଉଟା ବି ହେଇପାରେ. କଣ ସତ୍ୟଜିତ, am I right or wrong?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
No,
ବୁଝି
ma'am.
ହଉଛି.
No,
Ma'am
ma'am.
ସବୁ
No, no. এটা কমপ্লিটলি ইয়েস ହିଁ ମୁଁ କହିବି ବିକଜ ତମେ ହିଁ ଗୋଟେ ଲୋକ ଫ୍ରମ୍ ଦ ସେସନ୍ ଆରମ୍ଭଠୁ ଶେଷ ପର୍ଯ୍ୟନ୍ତ ତମର ହିଁ ଇଣ୍ଟରାକ୍ସନ୍ ରହିଛି. ୟା ପରେ ମୁଁ ସେଇଥିପାଇଁ ତମର ଆକ୍ଟିଭେସନ୍ ପାଇଁ ବୋଲି ମୁଁ କହିଲି ତମେ ସମସ୍ତେ ସୁଇଚ୍ ଅନ୍ କର, ମାନେ ଇଏ ମୋଡକୁ ନେଇ ଆସ, ୟା କି ଭିଡ଼ିଓ ଅନ୍ କର, ଆମେ ସମସ୍ତେ ଭଲସେ ଇଏ କରିପାରିବେ. ୟା ପରେ ମାନେ ମଧ୍ୟ କାହାର ବି ଇଣ୍ଟରାକ୍ସନ୍ ନାହିଁ. କ'ଣ ପାଇଁ? ଇଣ୍ଟରେଷ୍ଟ ନାହିଁ କ୍ଲାସରେ?
Interest ଅଛି ma'am.
बिल्कुल इंटरेस्ट नहीं, बिल्कुल इंटरेस्ट नहीं. कारण मुझे एबे देखिली माने सेही गोटे पिला सत्यजित जे आपण माने एमती ऑनलाइन क्लास तो भी होउची, जदि क्लास रे हमें गोटे एते बड़ पेपर हमें परीक्षा दबा, एंड से गोटे दीटा क्लास आम कर समय भी आम अटेंटिवली शुणवानी मैंने फैकल्टी मेंबर सी पढ़ेब ताकू केमती लगे तुम पढ़ेवाई जो जो कामटा आम कर प्रॉपर अटेंशन देव से कम किसी गोटे पचारे तो एटलिस्ट आम रेस्पॉन्ड करवा से जिनस को एबी तो आपण मानकर किछि आरंभ होइनी बिकॉज़ एबे आपण मानकर कोन ओनली थ्योरी क्लास एबे आरंभ होला थ्योरी सरू सरू आपण असाइनमेंट सबमिट करबे किए देखिबे खाता आपण माने गोटे पाठटा होछि सबुठ बड़ जिंस आपण न क्लास रूम रे जदि न पढिबे आपण जेते बही पढंतु आपण को सब जिंस के मुंड को जीव नहीं जीव कि मते कोहंतो पसिबो कि मुंड रे सत्यजीत
Yes, ma'am.
क्लास
Yes.
न
Hello.
करी मुंड रे पसि जीव सब जिंस हां
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
बुझिला
Ma'am, केबे
अवेलेबल एंड नॉन
सबमिट
अवेलेबल
कराଯିବ?
कार्बोहाइड्रेट्स हां
आଜ୍ଞା ma'am.
एथरो क्लास रे समस्ते वीडियो ऑन करिवो विदाउट वीडियो ऑन रे के भी क्लास मते ये नै समस्ते वीडियो ऑन करिवो मैडम काली आपण क्लास रे थिले क्लास थिले मैडम टिके बड़ पाटे कहंतु सुना जावनी मते आपण जम्मा सुना जावनी मैडम Now I will discuss about the macronutrient, that is the protein and the fat. About the carbohydrate I already discussed. Now I will discuss about the proteins and fat. What is protein? What is protein, Satyajit?
Yes, ma'am. Protein helps in build muscle mass and improve the muscle mass and create new muscle mass. Muscle building. It's plays a crucial role in muscle building. Protein. And it divided into two types. If there is all the essential amino acids are present, then it is known as complete protein, which is found in meat, fish, like that, like non-veg, and also found in dairy products also. And another is incomplete protein, which is in which there is not all the essential amino acids are present.
Like these four things are your macronutrient. First one is your, remember this point, carbohydrate, proteins, fat and water. All these four things are your macronutrient and the remaining things are the vitamins, minerals, all these things are comes under the micronutrient. And like carbohydrate, protein is also the carbohydrates is the organic compound, but in carbohydrate it is made up by the carbon, hydrogen and oxygens. But proteins also contain another elements that is called as the what? Nitrogen. But in the carbohydrates, nitrogen elements is not there. But in the proteins, it contains the carb, hydrogen, oxygen, and the nitrogen. And the basic building blocks of the proteins are the nitrogen containing units, and that is the peptide linkage. That is called as the peptide linkage. In the carbohydrate, it will be made up of the carbon, hydrogen, and oxygens. But in the proteins also contains another element. It is called as the nitrogen. And the basic building blocks of the proteins are the nitrogen, and it is containing a amino acid. In the protein, it contains the mainly it includes carbon, hydrogen, oxygen. Mainly carbohydrate ଆମେ ତିନିଟା ଜିନିଷ ପାଇବା carb, hydrogen and oxygen. But in the protein it contains the apart from the carb, hydrogen and oxygen it also contains the nitrogen, and that is the nitrogen containing units. It is called as the amino acid. And all the amino acid joints are the link are linked together in that chain. That link is called as the peptide linkage. Several hundreds or even thousands of amino acids are stuck together in specific strands or the coils to form the proteins. Okay, and there are specifically 22 amino acids is present. Food has an almost endless variety of proteins. Uh, Proteins and no two proteins have similar structure. And 20 or more amino acids are present in the varying proportion and are arranged in the varying sequence in the different kinds of proteins. Eight cannot be manufactured by the body, while the rest of the amino acids, the proteins, are built up by the 22 amino acids. Okay, and food has the almost endless variety of proteins, and two proteins have the similar structure. This is because the 20 or one more amino acids are present in the varying proportion and are arranged in the varying sequence. ବୁଝି ହଉଛି ନା ବୁଝି ହଉନି ଫାଷ୍ଟ ଥିଙ୍ଗ ସତ୍ୟଜି?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
ସତ୍ୟଜି,
ବୁଝି ହଉଛି.
ସସ୍ମିତା ବେହେରା, ବିନ୍ଧ୍ୟା ବୈଶିନୀ,
Yes, ma'am. ବୁଝି ହଉଛି.
ବୁଝି ହଉଛି?
ଆଜ୍ଞା.
ଠିକ ଅଛି. Proteins are mainly built up of just 22 amino acids. and food is in the 22 amino acid. Out of the 22 amino acid, proteins are two proteins have the similar structure. This is because the 20 or more amino acids are present in the varying proportion and are arranged in the varying sequence in different kinds of proteins. 8 cannot be manufactured by the body, but the 8 are not manufactured in our body. And while the rest can, those which cannot be manufactured by the body must be supplied by the diet. This type of amino acid is called as the essential amino acid. जोटा आम बॉडी तैयारी करि पारुनी and we will completely depend upon our for the diet. It is called as the essential amino acids, and the amino acids which can be manufactured by the body need not, of course, by supplied by the diet. They are hence called as the non-essential amino acid. The amino acid which can be manufactured by the body need not, of course, by supplied by the diet. That is called as the non-essential amino acid. Broadly, the amino acid can be divided into two types. One is the essential amino acid, and the another one is your non-essential amino acid. In the essential amino acid, which cannot be manufactured by the body, and that will be supplied by the diet only. And the amino acid, this type of amino acid is called as the essential amino acid, and the non-essential amino acid is mainly will be found from the diet only, जोटा कि आम बॉडी तैयारी करि पारे नाही, जोटा बॉडी तैयारी करिवे दैट इज द एसेंशियल अमीनो एसिड, जोटा आम शरीर तैयारी न करि पारे दैट इज योर नॉन एसेंशियल अमीनो एसिड. And the importance of the both type of amino acids, both are very important. That means the importance of the essential amino acid and the non-essential amino acids are equally important. Hello? Hello? हाँ हाँ. कोथिरे 507 हाँ से कौन कहते से ना आमर जो अंडा मेनू रे थी दिया एमती जोटा नथिबो सेटा केम दिया हबो तो डाइट कोड ना मेनू रे थिले ही दिया जिवो नहीं सेमती आमर जोटा मेनू रे थिबो सेटा दिया हबो जदि हबो नि थिबो जदि आज तो नॉन वेज नहीं काली तो नॉन वेज रे हे परिबो दिया हबो ना. आज तो वेज ना आज नॉन वेज ना सेंट्रल आईसीयू तो ठीक है ठीक है. ये कौन इंश्योरेंस पेशेंट हाँ हाँ ठीक है. Both essential and the non-essential amino acids are equally important for our body. And essential amino acids is the your isoleucine, leucine, lysine, methionine, phenylalanine, threonine, tryptophan, valine, histidine. These all are the essential amino acids. And align, aspargine, aspartic acid, cysteine, cysteine, glutamic acid, glutamine, glycine, hydroproline, hydroxyline, proline, serine, tyrosine. These all are your non-essential amino acid. Both the quality of the food proteins depend upon the number and the proportion of the essential amino acids contained in them. Proteins are mainly obtained from both animal sources and the plant sources. Basically, the proteins in the animal foods are the very high good quality of protein because they contain the essential amino acid in the required amount and the proportion. always while you are instructed the patient to consume the proteins rich diet, now you have to suggest the patient to take the animal sources of protein, because this animal sources of proteins, it contains the good quality of proteins. Okay, and it contains all the essential amino acid in the right proportion. That's why essential amino acid animal from the animal sources of proteins will get the good quality of essential amino acids. And the proteins in the plant food generally lack of 1 to 2 essential amino acids, therefore are not good quality. For example, cereals are very less in the lysine and rich in methionine. On the other hand, pulses are very poor in methionine and rich in lysine. ସେଥିପାଇଁ when we are instructed the patient, always you have to take rice and dal combinedly. When cereals are combined with the pulses in the same meal, then the quality of the protein improves. ପେପରଟା ମୋତେ ଦେଲ ଟିକେ ଏଇ ଝିଅ ପେପରଟା ମୋତେ ଦିଅ ମୋ ଛିଣ୍ଡା ତମେ ଆଉ ଗୋଟେ କୋଉଠୁ ଆଣ ସେଇ ଜନ୍ତୁଠୁ ଆଣୁନ ସେ କାହିଁ ଜାଣିବ ଯେ ଏଇ ଦିଦି ନେଇ ଆସି ସେ କାହିଁ ଜାଣିବ କଣ କଲେ ଟିକେ ଦେଖିଦେବେ ଭେରିଫାଇ କରିଦିଅ ଟିକେ ଭୁଲଭାଲ କଣ ଥିବ କାଲି ଦେଖିବି ତମେ ମୋତେ ରଖୁନ ତମେ କାଲି ମୋତେ ଦେବ ରଖ ତମେ କାଲି ଆସିବ. The quality of the food proteins depend on the number and the proportion of the essential amino acids contained in them. Mainly proteins are obtained from both the sources, in the animal sources and from the plant sources also. And specifically, animal sources of proteins are very good for the health. And because in the animal sources of proteins, it contains the all the essential amino acids that is required amounts and the required proportion. And if we will consider about the rice and dal, rice contains the uh, mainly rice. Cereals are very poor in the lysine and rich in methionine. methionine. In the other hands, na, pulses are very poor in methionine and rich in the lysine. ବୁଝିହେଲା ବୁଝିପାରୁଛ ସେଇଥିପାଇଁ ଆମେ ସବୁବେଳେ ଖାଲି ରାଇସ୍ କିମ୍ବା ଖାଲି ଡାଲ ଖାଇବା ପାଇଁ ମନା କରିବା କାରଣ ରାଇସ୍ ଯଦି ଆମେ ଖାଲି ନେଉଛନ୍ତି ସେଇଥିରେ ଆମେ କ'ଣ ଲାଇସିନ୍ ପାଉନାହାନ୍ତି we will get only the methionine but ଯଦି ଆମେ pulses ନେଉଛନ୍ତି ଡାଲି ନେଉଛନ୍ତି ଡାଲିରେ ଲାଇସିନ୍ ଅଧିକ ଅଛି ବଟ୍ methionine very poor methionine ଅଧିକ ଅଛି ଚାଉଳରେ ଲାଇସିନ୍ ଅଧିକ ଅଛି କୋଥିରେ ଡାଲିରେ ତ ଆକୁ ଆମେ ମାନେ ବାଲାନ୍ସ
Yes.
କରିପାରିବେ ଯଦି if we will take the rice and dal in the uh, combining form if we will consume then it will balance the lysine and methionine content. When the cereals are combined with the pulses in the same meal combined with the same meal, then the quality of the protein will be improves. Protein quality of the plant food can be improved by the combination of one or more kind of foods or the plant origin. Always we are giving more focus for the cereal pulses combination. Example, we are using the dosa na rice here. Rice and urad dal is combined together in dal roti preparation, rice dal preparation, cereal animals full combination. As in dalia, milk, broken wheat, we are combining. That means in this case, we are adding the cereals with the proteins. This is one of the way of improving the quality of the proteins by this judicious combination of the foods of the animal and the plant origin, you can ensure that the protein content will be of very good quality. What is the sources of protein? Protein will be found from the specifically in the animal sources you will find the proteins like the milk and milk product like curd, soya, paneer, flesh foods, meat, fish, poultry, egg, nuts, oils, just like the groundnuts, almonds, and the cashew nuts, walnuts pulses, all the pulses like rajma, soybean, green peas, lentils, Bengal grams, all these contains the what? Proteins. Among the pulses, soybean is particularly rich in protein. Protein contains of some richest sources of protein it contains the soybean and that is also very good quality of protein. Always the protein in the food of the animal origin are the very good quality of protein. And milk is also another kind of animal protein and this is used by both the vegetarian and the non-veg. Milk is also contains rich in lysine.
Milk contain casein protein. Casein protein milk contain. Yes, ma'am.
कौन कहले? Yes.
Ma'am, ମୁଁ କହିଲି milk contain casein protein.
हाँ हाँ yes. What is the chief function of the proteins? Why we will record the proteins? Proteins mainly helpful for the it performs different functions and protein is highly essential for the body because it acts as the body building. Its main function is body building. Protein supply mainly after the consumption of the proteins it supply the amino acid and that amino acid is mainly help for the building the new body tissue and for the replacement of the worn out tissue. Okay, and mainly this protein is helpful for the building of the new body tissue and for the replacement of the worn out tissue. And mainly this protein is help in the growth and the maintenance of the body. Growth of the human beings from birth to the adulthood, regular supply of the dietary protein is highly required. Uh, Protein is without protein the body needed the protein because if we will not provide protein sufficient amount the body growth will be serious. Even during the adulthood one of the body tissue need continuous replacements. Proteins are required throughout the life for the growth and the maintenance of the body. Proteins as a carrier means because if we consume sufficient amount of protein acts as the carrier, it helps mainly transport the certain substance from one place to the another place. And specifically, protein's carrier is hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is the red color pigmentation, the red color proteins containing substance present in the blood. Hemoglobin carries mainly oxygen from the lungs to the various body tissue and the carbon dioxide from the body tissue to the lungs. And proteins also gives the energy. That's why it acts as the energy giving function. Energy giving function. Protein can also be broken down in the body to provide the energy. If we will consume 1 grams of protein, it yields about 4 kilocalories. And it's not the major function of the proteins and only take place when the diet does not supply enough energy giving nutrients such as carb and the fats. And another chief function of the protein is it acts as the regulatory and protective substance. What is regulatory function? Regulatory function means proteins are the very also part of some chemical substance essential for the regulation of the vital body processes. All enzymes are proteins in nature. In our body, different types of enzymes are present, and that enzymes, the role of the enzymes is mainly enzyme cells for the process of the digestion of the food particles, and all the enzymes are like amylase, tyline, All these enzymes are what? Protein in nature. Enzymes, hormones are also chemical substance vital for the regulation of the metabolism as well as and some other body processes. Some of the hormones like insulin is also one type of protein. Antibodies which protect the body from the illness are also the proteins. Mainly proteins perform different function in our body. It mainly helpful for the body building and also is act as a protein as a regulatory and protective substance. Proteins act as the carrier. It's also energy giving function, digestion, absorption. What is the where the protein is digested and where it is absorbed and where what is the inflation of the protein. Mainly proteins is made up of the small and large chains of amino acids and the digestion of proteins involves in the breakdown of these amino acid chains to their constituent amino acids. Saliva contains no proteolytic enzyme. In our saliva, it does not contain any types of proteolytic enzyme. Protein digestion mainly occurs at the stomach. You know that in the last class I already discussed carbohydrate digestion takes place at our mouth oral cavity, but protein digestion mainly occurs in the stomach and in the small intestine. Pepsin is a proteolytic enzyme present in the gastric juices break down proteins into very smaller amino acid chains. Pepsin itself cannot complete the digestion of the proteins. Partly broken down proteins from the stomach are released into the small intestine where further digestion takes place. And mainly digestion takes place, protein digestion takes place in the two way. One is the breakdown of the amino acid chains to the amino acids and the breakdown of the partly digested proteins to the smaller amino acid chains. Mainly proteins are digested in the stomach and the small intestine because it contains the pepsin. Pepsin is the proteolytic enzyme and that proteolytic enzyme present in the gastric juice that break down proteins into the small amino acids. Pepsin itself cannot complete the digestion of the proteins. First, we have to broken down proteins from the stomach are released into the small intestine. Breakdown of partly digested proteins to smaller amino acid chains. There are several proteolytic enzymes that is called as the protease. जो breakdown proteins जोटाको जोटा partially digested ହେଇଥିବ ତାକୁ small amino acid chains ରେ convert ହେଲା ପରେ in our body there are several enzymes is present that is called as the proteolytic enzyme. The name of the proteolytic enzyme is protease. Protease in the small intestine which act on partly digested proteins and convert them to even the smaller amino acid chain. Because of presence of this protease is the enzyme which is mainly responsible for the what? Partly digestion proteins and convert into them in the small amino acid chains. And also proteins breakdown of the amino acid chains to the amino acids. Finally, कौन हुए? Now these proteolytic enzymes called the peptidase. Proteolytic enzymes is called as the peptidase act on the amino acid chains and convert them to their constituent amino acid. Uh, Proteolytic enzymes called the peptidase act on the amino acid chains and convert them to the constituent amino acid. In this way, the digestion takes place. And metabolism of the proteins is very essential. The metabolism of the amino acid as these are the end product of the process is the proteins. After digestion, the amino acids are carried to the liver through the bloodstream, and the amino acids are used in the three way. Mainly, the amino acid is used in the body in the three way. First one is the some of the amino acids are used as the राजा टे पानी फानी आने पिवा राजा अच्छी दोनों ठीक है हाँ mainly proteins are used for the building of the blood proteins and are also retained in the liver and the rest enters the blood circulation as the amino acid. Some of the amino acid remains in the circulation and others are taken up by the body tissue for the protein synthesis whenever needed. The amino acids are used in the three way in our body. First, that amino acid is used for the building of the blood protein. Blood मध्ये गोटे connective गोटे proteins तर building of the blood proteins this amino acid is required and some are retained in the liver and the rest enters the blood circulation as the amino acid. And maximum amino acids remains in the circulation and other are taken up by the body tissue for the protein synthesis. And it must emphasize here that only the protein of good quality are maximum utilized by the body for the synthesis of the own protein. And this animal origin protein like the milk, wheat, have proteins of the good quality. This is because the animal proteins at the right proportion and amount and the right right proportion amount of all essential amino acid. In the plant-based origin like the wheat, rice, pulses, these proteins is a very poor quality proteins because they generally lack one or more essential amino acid. That means all the means animal sources of proteins it contains all the essential amino acid and non-essential amino acid. But the if we will consume the milk protein, then it will devoid of some types of essential amino acid. And this amino acid present in the proteins of the good quality can be used optimally for the body protein synthesis. These essential amino acids are present in the proteins of the good quality like animal sources. That type of proteins is mainly responsible for the protein synthesis. And proteins of the very poor quality are used for the tissue protein synthesis. Body protein synthesis ପାଇଁ ଆମକୁ good quality of amino acids ଦରକାର, good quality of protein is required, whereas the proteins of the very poor quality are very less likely to be used for the tissue protein synthesis. These proteins or these amino acids are more likely to be used for the other purpose including the release of the energy. Glucose amino acids can also be oxidized or bound in the body to produce the energy. Now I will discuss about the fats like the carbohydrate, protein, fats. Fats like carbohydrate are the made up of the carbon, hydrogen, oxygen that differ from the carbohydrate in structure and properties. That fat mainly includes fats and oils which are resin in the field and insoluble in water. In fat and oils, they mainly contains a substance. It is called as the cholesterol. Cholesterol, and this cholesterol which are important in the body. ଆମେ ଭାବୁଛନ୍ତି ଯେ କୋଲେଷ୍ଟ୍ରଲଟା ସବୁବେଳେ ଆମ ପାଇଁ ଖରାପ ବଟ୍ ଆମ ଶରୀର ପାଇଁ କୋଲେଷ୍ଟ୍ରଲର ଆବଶ୍ୟକତା ରହିଛି that should be in the very good
HDL
quality.
cholesterol is good cholesterol. HDL cholesterol is good cholesterol, and LDL cholesterol is
Yes,
bad
yes.
cholesterol.
Huh. That LDL will be because of the increase of this LDL level, that means low density lipoprotein cholesterol, it causes the different types of cardiovascular disorder. Okay. And uh, The major constituent of all the fats and oils are fatty acid and glycerol. All the fats it contains the glycerol and the fatty acid. Fatty acids are the composed of a chain of carbon atoms with the other elements like the oxygen and the hydrogen. And some of the fatty acids are the palmitic acid, stearic acid, oleic acid, linoleic acids. And these all are the four types of fatty acids. What is mainly fat, the major constituent of the fat is fatty acid and the glycerol. Fatty acids are the composed of a chain of carbon atoms with other elements like the oxygen and the hydrogen. And some of the common fatty acids are palmitic acid, stearic acid, oleic acid, and linoleic acids. And the fatty acid can be classified in three categories based that is depend upon the length of the chain. There are different types of chains are present in the fatty acid like short chain fatty acid and short chain fatty acid, long chain fatty acid and MCT or medium chain triglycerides. There are mainly short chain fatty acid means the fatty acid made up of 10 or fewer carbon atoms, that is pure short chain fatty acid. Long chain fatty acid means if it is made up of 12 to 20 numbers of carbon atoms, then it is called as the long chain fatty acid. And very long chain fatty acid means it is made up of more than 20 carbon atoms. Okay. Short chain fatty acid, long chain fatty acid, very long chain fatty acid. In the short chain fatty acid contains only 10 to 10 या तार कम कार्बन एटम्स chains तैयारी करथियो, that is your short chain fatty acid. If in the long chain fatty acid it is made up of 12 to 20 carbon atoms, and the very long chain fatty acid is made up of 20 or more carbon atoms. And the fats and oils we come across term like all the fats and oils it contains the saturated fatty acid, unsaturated fatty acid, essential fatty acid. A fatty acid chains of specific chain length. Number of carbon atoms has a fixed maximum number of hydrogen atoms. Certain fatty acid have the as many hydrogen atoms as the carbon chain can hold. They are called the saturated fatty acid. In the unsaturated fatty acid, the capacity to accommodate more hydrogen atoms and some hydrogen atoms are missing from the carbon chain. But in the saturated fatty acids, it contains the both the carbon chain, the many hydrogen atoms as the carbon chain can hold together. And this is the difference between the saturated fatty acid and the unsaturated fatty acid. And there are two types of fatty acid is present. One is the essential fatty acid and non-essential fatty acid. Essential fatty acid. There are two fatty acids which cannot be synthesized in the body. These fatty acids are to be provided in the diet. This is called as the essential fatty acids. जोटा कि हम बॉडी निजे सिंथेसाइज करि पारे नाही, and if I will depend it for the dietary sources. The fatty acids have to be provided in the diet and are referred to as the essential fatty acid. And there are linolenic and the linoleic acid. Two type of acid is there. One is the linoleic acid and the another one is your linolenic acid. These two are the fatty acid are unsaturated in nature. That means Linolenic acid, linoleic acid, both are the unsaturated fatty acid, and that unsaturated fatty acid is very good for our body. Fats and oils, it is mainly made up of by the glycerol and the fatty acid. What is then mainly this fatty acid is composed of it is made up of by the glycerols and the fatty acid. The in molecule of the fat or the oil is the free fatty acid and the molecule of glycerol. This is called as the triglycerides. Another one is the in the lipid profile. If we go through the lipid profile value, another parameter is your triglycerides. Triglycerides is nothing. Triglyceride is the molecule of fat or oil, but it contains three fatty acids and one molecule of glycerols. That means triglycerides it contains three molecules of the what? Fatty acids, oil fatty acids, and one molecules of what? Glycerol. This is called as the triglycerides. Fats and oils are composed of many triglycerides and the fat molecules. What we are consuming, the fat forms or the oils form, both are made up of by the TG, triglycerides. And that triglycerides is made up by the three fatty acid, and one molecule of glycerol. It is made up of three glycerols, three fatty acid, and one molecule of glycerols. पूरा बिंदु भी रहता है ଭୁଲ ଭାଇ ଅଛି ତାକୁ ରଙ୍ଗେ ଶୁଣେଇ ଦେଇକି ପଳେଇ ଆଇଲେ ଶୁଣେଇ ଦେଇକି ଆସିଲେ ଠିକ ସେ କରିବ ଆଉ ଦେଇଥିଲେ ଗୋଟେ ସେ କରିଛି ଗୋଟେ ମତେ ଶୋଧା ଶୁଣିବାକୁ ପଡିଛି କଣ fat. Fat means F is the fatty acid, A is the fatty acid, glycerol. In the glycerol, is mainly this fatty acid is made up of by the glycerol and the fatty acid. Uh, Triglycerides is made up of three molecule of the fatty acid and the one molecule of the glycerols. That is triglycerides. If we will discuss about the fats and oils both are the triglycerides, but fat are solid at room temperature, have a high proportion saturated fatty acid. Ghee butter is the example of triglycerides. Oils, on the other hand, have a more unsaturated fatty acid and are liquid at the room temperature. Mustard oil, groundnut oil, fat used for both the fats and oils. Okay, that means fat is mainly divided into two. One is the in the form of the fats, in the form of fats mainly in the form of oils, and oils contains mainly the unsaturated fatty acid because it is liquid at the room temperature, and all the groundnut oils, mustard oil, it contains the unsaturated fatty acid. While specifically the oil fats are solid at room temperature and a very high proportion saturated fatty acid. Example of the these fats are ghee and butter. Food sources. Food sources of fat and oils mainly it includes the fats, oils like coconut oil, soybean oils, and groundnut oils. vanaspati, mustard oil, ghee, all these are the sources of the fats and oils. And the presence of fat is also evident in the other like milk and dairy product and the oil seeds like coconut, groundnut in the almond, mustard seeds, egg, fish foods. These are known as the fat-rich food because it contains the richest sources of fat. And there are two types of fat is present. One is the visible fat and another one is the invisible fat. Like fat is present in very minute quantity in all foodstuff. Even food like cereal, pulses, fruits, have fats in them in the very minute quantity. That type of fat is very invisible to our eye. It is called as the invisible fat. What is the chief function of fat? Fat mainly is help for the. Uh, it is also required for our body because if we will consume excess amount of fat, it causes the what disease like all type of cardiovascular disorder. It is occur because of the excess intake of the fat only. And what is the important function of the fats? Mainly, fats act as the source of energy because 1 gram of fat it provides about 9 kilocalorie of the energy, and uh, 1 gram of carbohydrate. If you will consume 1 gram of carbohydrate, it provides the 9 kilocalorie. And if you consume 1 grams of proteins, it provides the 4 kilocalorie. But if you will consume the 1 gram of fat, it will provide the 9 kilocalorie. Small amount of fat is used to meet the energy needs of the body, and most of the excess fat is stored in the body in the specific tissue, which is called as the adipose tissue. And these adipose tissue is present at the skin and in the abdominal region. And the chief function of the fat is the satiety, satiety value. That means um, if we will consume the fat rich diet, you would have noticed that you feel the full and do not feel hungry for a prolonged period. Fats remains longer in the stomach and take more time for the digestion like fiber. Fat also give the satiety value. Insulation and the padding. What is insulation and padding? Insulation and padding means fat is stored in the body in the adipose tissue at the specific places. Layers of the stored fat under the skin act as an insulator and keep the body warm. Second, those who are the very obese person, they are not feeling very what uh, cold. They always feel the warm. A layer of the fat is also present around the vital organs of the body like the heart, kidney, and all the major organs. These serve as the padding and protects them against injury. Mainly because of these fats, they protect the internal organs from the injuries also. And source of essential fatty acids. Essential fatty acids uh, the fats serve as the source of essential fatty acid, which have the important function in our body, and also it carriers of the fat soluble vitamins, specifically for the transportation of the fat soluble vitamins A, D, E. This fat is required, and the source of essential fatty acid. Essential fatty acids, which have the very important role in our body, where that fat will be digestion, absorption, and the utilization takes place. Mainly, the process of digestion fats are broken down to their constituent components like glycerol and the fatty acids. The two enzymes which aids in the digestion of the fats are the gastric lipase present in the gastric juices and the pancreatic lipase stored into the small intestine from the pancreas. Two types of enzymes like the digestion of the fat or gastric lipase present in the gastric juices and the pancreatic lipase food into the small intestine from the pancreas. Mainly bile is help for the digestion of the what? Fat. Fat is broken down by the help of the bile, and the fat droplets are then dispersed in the liquid digestive juice and are easily absorbed upon the enzyme. Bile is not present only in the stomach. The action of the gastric life is not very significant. Fats are chiefly digested in the SI, small intestine, and the pancreatic lipase and the broke down into glycerol and the fatty acid aids by the action of the bile. With the help of this pancreatic lipase enzyme, these fats will be break down into the fatty acid and the glycerol. And the last product of the fat digestion is your fatty acid and the glycerol that present in the intestine move into the intestinal tract. The fatty acid cannot enter intestinal cells as such bile salt mainly plays the important role in the fat absorption by dispersing the fatty acid into the small, tiny, water-soluble units called the micelles, which can easily move into the intestinal cells. Because of the presence of micelles, it's mainly helpful for the fatty acid cannot enter directly into the intestinal tract. With the help of the bile only, bile plays a very important role for the what? Important role for the fat absorption, and by dispersing the fatty acid into small teeny water soluble units, it's called as the micelles, which can easily move into the intestinal cells. In the fatty acid and glycerol then get after the digestion it transported from stream, but first they enter through the network of vessels present in the belly of the small intestine. It's called as the liver, and then the fatty acid from the limb itself enters the heart, and from there move into the bloodstream. First it will pass to the what bloodstream that do not directly enters to the bloodstream. The first enter to the network of vessels. First it will enter to the villi, microvilli of the small intestine, called as the small limb vessels. Then the fatty acid from the limb vessels it will be enters to the heart. From there move into the blood. Blood then carries them either to the adipose tissue where they are stored as a concentrated source of energy. Otherwise, the cells where they are broken down into provides the energy. What is cholesterol? It's very important question. Cholesterol कौन? What is cholesterol?
Hello.
What is cholesterol? ଆମେ କହୁନାହାନ୍ତି ତମେ କୋଲେଷ୍ଟ୍ରଲ୍ ଚେକ୍ କରିଥିଲେ ତମ କୋଲେଷ୍ଟ୍ରଲ୍ କେତେ ଅଛି କୋଲେଷ୍ଟ୍ରଲ୍ ବଢ଼ିଗଲା କୋଲେଷ୍ଟ୍ରଲ୍ କମିଗଲା ଆମେ ସବୁ ଡିସ୍କସନ୍ କରୁନାହାନ୍ତି କେବେ ଡିସ୍କସନ୍ କରିନ କୋଲେଷ୍ଟ୍ରଲ୍ କ'ଣ What is cholesterol? What is cholesterol? Satyajit, Sasmita Behera, cholesterol. Cholesterol is nothing. Cholesterol
Hello.
is a fat-like substance present in the foods, and it is different in structure from the TG, triglycerides, that is the fat and oils. All the animal sources like meat, milk, egg, ghee, butter, cream are the source of cholesterol. Plant foods like vegetable oils, mustard oil, groundnut oil, soybean oil, nuts, and the oils do not contain cholesterol. But some of the manufacturers of the vegetable oils try to mislead the general public by making claim that their product do not contain the cholesterol. But all the animal sources of proteins that contains the cholesterol, plant-based product, vegetable product that does not contains the cholesterol. And in our body, cholesterol play a very major role because this cholesterol is the structural components of membrane of the body cells. In our body, different types of cell is there, and that main membrane of the body cell is uh, that body cell is composed of this cholesterol. And the breakdown of the cholesterol by the liver product bile salt are very important for the digestion and the absorption of the fat and the some vitamins. Cholesterol is also necessary for the synthesis of many hormones in the body. Without cholesterol, the body will be not able to synthesize the what? Hormone production. Sasmita Behera, ମୁଁ ଏଥର ଆଟେଣ୍ଡାନ୍ସ ନେବି ଯେଉଁମାନେ ଲାଷ୍ଟ ପର୍ଯ୍ୟନ୍ତ ସେସନରେ ରହିବେ ତାଙ୍କର ହିଁ ଆଟେଣ୍ଡାନ୍ସ ମାନେ ନେବି ଅଦରୱାଇଜ୍ ଅନ୍ୟମାନେ ଯେଉଁମାନେ ଆଟେଣ୍ଡାନ୍ସରେ ନ ରହିବେ ଆପଣମାନେ ଏକ୍ଜାମ୍ ସମୟରେ ଜାଣିପାରିବେ କ'ଣ ପ୍ରୋଗ୍ରାମ୍ ହେବ। ସତ୍ୟଜିତ, amino acids are the building blocks of the proteins, and all the food and body proteins contains 22 different types of amino acids. And 22 amino acids are classified into the two types. One is the essential amino acid, and the another one is your non-essential amino acid. The quality of the food proteins depends on the relative proportion of the essential amino acid present in them. And the animal proteins generally contains enough of all the essential amino acids needed by the body. And the quality of the plant proteins can be improved by the combining the plant foods with other plant foods or the animal foods. And the end product of the protein digestion in the body are the amino acids, which after absorption are utilized for the several functions in the body. And the chief function of the proteins is for the maintenance and the growth. And the fatty acids are the chief constituent of all the fats and the oils. Fatty acids can be saturated and unsaturated depending on the number of hydrogen atoms present in the carbon chain. କେତେଟା ଆମର ହାଇଡ୍ରୋଜେନ୍ ଆଟମ୍ ରହିଛି କାର୍ବନ ଚେନ୍ରେ ସେ ଅନୁସାରେ ଆମେ ତାକୁ କହିବ whether it is saturated fatty acid or the unsaturated fatty acid. And triglycerides is made up of the three numbers of fatty acid and one molecule of the glycerols. In the process of digestion, triglycerides present in the food are broken down to their constituent fatty acids and the glycerol. Fatty acids are mainly released as a result of digestion, a concentrated source of energy. What is non-essential amino acid? Non-essential amino acids means an amino acid which can be synthesized in the body and hence does not have to be provided in the diet. Now, essential amino acids means that amino acid will be got from the outside food sources. Today, I already discussed about the essential amino acid, fatty acids, hormones, and the non-essential amino acids, and what are the function of the fats, function of the protein, digestion of the fat, absorption and the utilization of the carbohydrate, protein, and fat, and the chief function of the protein and the fat, and what are the foodstuff are the or the sources of proteins and which protein is very good quality of protein and the bad quality of protein. I already discussed about the fats, protein, and the carbs. If anybody is having any doubt, you can ask me. କିଛି doubt ରହିଛି କି?
No, ma'am. Really, बुझिए
assignment ଲେଖିବା ଆରମ୍ଭ କଲେଣି?
ନାଇଁ ମ୍ୟାମ୍ ହଁ ହଁ ଆସାଇନମେଣ୍ଟ କ୍ୱେଶ୍ଚିନ୍ ମ୍ୟାମ୍ ମିଳିଲାଣି କ'ଣ କି ଦିଆ ହେଲାଣି?
assignment deposit କରିସାରିଲେଣି ଆପଣମାନେ?
ନାଇଁ ଆସାଇନମେଣ୍ଟ ତ ଦିଆ ହେଇନି ବୋଧେ କ୍ୱେଶ୍ଚିନ୍।
ଓ କ୍ୱେଶ୍ଚିନ୍ ପାଇନାହାନ୍ତି କହୁଛନ୍ତି?
ଆଜ୍ଞା ପାଇନି ତ କ୍ୱେଶ୍ଚିନ୍।
ଆଚ୍ଛା ଦେଖନ୍ତୁ ନେଟ୍ରେ ସର୍ଚ୍ଚ କରନ୍ତୁ ଆସିଲାଣି କି କ'ଣ କ୍ୱେଶ୍ଚିନ୍ ଆପଣଙ୍କର ଏଇ ବର୍ଷର। ଯଦି ଆସିଯାଇଥିବ assignment ଲେଖିବା ଆରମ୍ଭ କରିଦିଅନ୍ତୁ ବୁଝିଲେ। ଏଣ୍ଡ ତାପରେ ଆପଣଙ୍କର ଆସାଇନମେଣ୍ଟ ସହିତ ଏକ୍ଜାମ୍ ପାଇଁ ବି ପ୍ରିପେୟାର ହୁଅନ୍ତୁ। ଆଉ ଯେଉଁ ବି ଗୋଟେ ପ୍ରୋଜେକ୍ଟ ୱାର୍କ ରହୁଛି ପ୍ରୋଜେକ୍ଟ ପାଇଁ ଆପଣ କେଉଁଥିରେ ଆପଣ ଆପଣଙ୍କର ପ୍ରୋଜେକ୍ଟ ବନେଇବେ ତାର ଗୋଟେ ସିନୋପସିସ୍ ବନେଇବେ। ସିନୋପସିସ୍ ଆପ୍ରୁଭାଲ୍ ହେଲା ପରେ ଆପଣ ଡାଇରେକ୍ଟ ପ୍ରୋଜେକ୍ଟ ବନେଇବେ। ଏଇଦର ଆପଣ କମ୍ୟୁନିଟି ବେସ୍କୁ ନେଇକି ବନେଇ ପାରିବେ କିମ୍ବା ଯେହେତୁ ଏଇଟା ଗୋଟେ ଫୁଡ୍ ଆଣ୍ଡ ନ୍ୟୁଟ୍ରିସନର ସବଜେକ୍ଟ ଆପଣ ଗୋଟେ ଡିଜିଜ୍ ସ୍ପେସିଫିକକୁ ନେଇକି କରିପାରିବେ କିମ୍ବା କିଛି ଗୋଟେ ଭିଟାମିନ୍ସକୁ ନେଇକି କରିପାରିବେ। ନହେଲେ ଓବେସିଟିକୁ ଡାଏଟ୍ର ରୋଲ୍ କ'ଣ, ହାଉ ୱିଲ୍ ମ୍ୟାନେଜ୍ ଦ ଓବେସିଟି ଥ୍ରୁ ଦ ମେଡ଼ିକାଲ ନ୍ୟୁଟ୍ରିସନ୍ ଥେରାପି, ଡାଏଟ୍ ଥେରାପି କିମ୍ବା ଡାଇବେଟିସ୍ ପାଇଁ ମଧ୍ୟ ଡାଏଟ୍ ଥେରାପି କ'ଣ କିମ୍ବା anemia. Nowadays anemia is also very common. तो हमें anemia management with dietary management for the anemia. Otherwise pregnancy and nutritional care भी बने पर lactational and the diet तो ये टाइप रो किसी गोटे सब्जेक्ट आमे जोटा तुमको जहाँ पसंद कि आजिकल कैंसर भी बहुत बड़ा गोटे माने ड्रेडेड डिजीज तो कैंसर ପାଇଁ ମଧ୍ୟ डाइट और कैंसर रो माने कोरिलेशन ऑफ द डाइट एंड द कार्सिनोमा ताकू नेकी ମଧ୍ୟ ଆମେ ବନେଇ ପାରିବା।
ମ୍ୟାମ୍ ଏ
प्रोजेक्ट
ଯୋଉ
ବନେଇଲା ବେଳେ ଆପଣ
ପ୍ରୋଜେକ୍ଟ
ଜମା ବ୍ୟସ୍ତ ହୁଅନ୍ତୁନି। କଣ କହିଲେ?
ମ୍ୟାମ୍ ଯୋଉ ପ୍ରୋଜେକ୍ଟର ଟପିକଟା ମାନେ ଆମେ କେବେ କ'ଣ ଦବୁ କେମିତି କ'ଣ କରିବୁ ଆସାଇନମେଣ୍ଟ ତ କାଇଁ ଆମେ ଜାଣିପାରୁନୁ କୋଉଠୁ କ୍ୱେଶ୍ଚିନ୍
स्टडी सेंटर रे दबु ना आरसी रे दबु?
କଣ କହିଲେ?
स्टडी सेंटर रे असाइनमेंट सबमिशन करिवो या फिर आरसी रे सबमिशन करिवो
ହଁ
आरसी
ହଁ
भुवनेश्वर रे?
ଆପଣଙ୍କ ରିଜନାଲ ଷ୍ଟଡି ସେଣ୍ଟର ଭୁବନେଶ୍ୱରରେ ଆଣିକି ଦେବେ ଆସାଇନମେଣ୍ଟ। ପ୍ରଥମେ ଆସାଇନମେଣ୍ଟର କ୍ୱେଶ୍ଚିନାରୀ ଆପଣମାନଙ୍କର ୱେବସାଇଟ୍ରେ ପବ୍ଲିଶ ହେଇଯିବ ସେଇଠୁ ବାହାର କରିକି ଡାଉନଲୋଡ଼ କରିକି ଆପଣ ସେଇ ଏଇ ବର୍ଷର ଆସାଇନମେଣ୍ଟ DNHE ପାଇଁ ଲେଖନ୍ତୁ। ତାପରେ ଏକ୍ଜାମ୍ ପାଇଁ ପ୍ରିପେୟାର ହୁଅନ୍ତୁ। ତା ସହିତ କିଏ କ'ଣ ପ୍ରୋଜେକ୍ଟ ନେବ ମାନେ ପ୍ରୋଜେକ୍ଟ କେଉଁଥିରେ ଆପଣ କରିବେ ସେଇଟାକୁ ମଧ୍ୟ ମେଣ୍ଟାଲି ପ୍ରିପେୟାର ହେଇଯାଆନ୍ତୁ କାରଣ ସମୟ ନାହିଁ। ଆପଣ ଆସାଇନମେଣ୍ଟ ଲେଖୁ ଲେଖୁ
ओके
ବହୁତ
मैम,
ଦିନ
ओके
ହେଇଯିବ।
मैम।
ଆସାଇନମେଣ୍ଟ ମନେ ରଖନ୍ତୁ ଆଜିକାଲି ମୁଁ ଦେଖୁଛି ବହୁତ ସାରା ପିଲା ମଧ୍ୟ କିଛି ଗୋଟେ ପ୍ରିଣ୍ଟେଡ୍ ଫର୍ମରେ ଦେଇ ଦେଉଛନ୍ତି କିନ୍ତୁ ପ୍ରିଣ୍ଟେଡ୍ ଫର୍ମରେ ଯଦି ଆପଣ
हाँ
ପ୍ରିଣ୍ଟ କରିକି କେଉଁଠି ଗୋଟେ ଲେଖା ଆଣିକି ଦିଆ କରିବେ ତାହେଲେ ଫେଲ୍ ହେବାଟା ଥୟ। ମନେ ରଖନ୍ତୁ ମୁଁ ଏଇଥର କିଛି ଜଣଙ୍କ ସେମିତିରେ ମଧ୍ୟ କରିଛି ସେଇ ଟାଇପ୍ର। ତ ନିଜେ ଆପଣ ଓନ୍ ହ୍ୟାଣ୍ଡରାଇଟିଂରେ ଆସାଇନମେଣ୍ଟ ଲେଖନ୍ତୁ ଆଣ୍ଡ ପ୍ରୋଜେକ୍ଟ ପାଇଁ ମଧ୍ୟ ପ୍ରିପାରେସନ୍ ଆରମ୍ଭ କରନ୍ତୁ। ଆଉ ଯାହାର କିଛି ଅସୁବିଧା ରହୁଥିବ ମୋତେ ଆପଣ ଫୋନ୍ ନମ୍ବର ଦେଇଛି ଆପଣ
मैम।
ମୋତେ
मैम
ପଚାରିବେ। ଓକେ
मैम
थैंक यू।
प्रोजेक्ट हमको मैम
सत्यजित हाँ
प्रोजेक्ट
शुणु ଏବେ ଅଲରେଡ଼ି ଟାଇମ୍ ହେଇଗଲା, ମୁଁ ବାହାରି ଯିବି, ମୋର ଅଦର କାମ ଅଛି ମୋର। ତ ଆପଣମାନଙ୍କ ପାଖରେ ମୋ ନମ୍ବର ଅଛି, ଯେଉଁଟା ବି ସେ ପ୍ରୋଜେକ୍ଟ ରିଲେଟେଡ୍ ହଉ, ଏକ୍ଜାମ୍ ରିଲେଟେଡ୍ ଯାହା ବି ଆପଣଙ୍କ କ୍ୱେଶ୍ଚିନ୍ ରହୁଛି ମୋତେ ଆପଣ ପଚାରିପାରିବେ ପରେ ହେଲା।
ओके मैम, मैं ମୁଁ
ଓକେ,
ଗ୍ରୁପ ବନେଇକି ଆଡ୍ କରିଛି, ଆପଣ ଚେकआउट କରିବେ, WhatsApp ଚେकआउट ନେଇଛି।
ମୋ ହ୍ୱାଟ୍ସଆପ୍ ନମ୍ବର କ'ଣ ହେଲେ ସତ୍ୟଜିତ? କାଲି ଆମେ କଥା ହବା, ଆଜି ମୋର ଟାଇମ୍ ନାହିଁ, କାଲି ଆମେ ଓକେ। ଥ୍ୟାଙ୍କ
ओके
ୟୁ, ଆଇ
मैम।
ଲଭ୍ ୟୁ, ଥ୍ୟାଙ୍କ
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. Bye, ma'am.
ୟୁ, ବାଏ।